Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I just did old school merch. It's Hammers Headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys. Three stories. One quite more sort of fan theory, and a couple of stories about players leaving, or a player leaving, and also an emergence of a new player, so to speak, albeit next year. It'll make sense when we get there. So I wanted to talk about this. Really, it was an article I read the other day, and I found it fascinating. And actually, it was really quite interesting. Now we know that the future of Julian Lopetegui is somewhat under the microscope, and vis-a-vis the technical director as well. You know, we know that. I think I saw an article on X, and there was a table compiled of all the 90 teams in the English Premier in the English pyramid. I think West Ham was 76th in terms of our performance across the calendar year. 79 goals conceded in 2024, the most ever in a Premier League calendar year. And this coincided with, I can't remember who the journalist was, but basically revealing that West Ham were not very happy with Tim in terms of his activity. Um, and it was emerged that Lopetegui was having direct talks with Sullivan about transfers, and how that Sullivan wanted to get more involved in direct communications about transfers, all that type of stuff. It seemed like there was a desire to retain control again, where he sort of. I always felt like it was a bit like Tim was on like one of those retractable dog leads. You know, Sullivan, he'd flick it on the one which let him just run off. Anyone who's got a dog, like up until about 5 meters, and then it prings. And now it seems that actually Sullivan's wanting him on a shorter leash rather than the 5 meter leash. But this article I was reading is, I think it was on one of the fans' websites, and it was like a bit like fan fiction, but it was really interesting, and it made it a bit. And I thought it was a really sort of interesting thing to talk about, because obviously there's the whole thing around Graham Potter and Graham, waiting in the wings for for the West Ham job, or he was, or he isn't, we don't know. Now, one of the major criticisms of Graham Potter, one of the reasons why we didn't maybe pursue him more avidly in recent years, was from a board perspective, that he was only good because of the system at Brighton. And I mean, look at the system at Brighton. You know, Potter's left, De Serbi left, and then they've got Husler in. In my opinion, and from an outsider looking in, there hasn't been really any break in consistency in terms of they've always been a top 10 side. Now, they've always got good players in. They've always recruited well. They've always sold at the right time. They've always played decent football. They've always, had a passionate fan base. That, despite the fact the manager's leaving or the coach leaves, there doesn't seem any be breaking consistency. And actually, to be honest, thinking about it, I'd probably want that. I want some, it's like a computer or a phone. You take a piece out and you put a new piece in, and you hopefully that will be an upgrade and it'll work alongside everything else in your computer or on your phone or whatnot. And that's really how it should be. The coach is plugged into the system. And this article suggested that maybe West Ham could go back to the drawing board and basically create our own supercomputer. If there's a frustration with Lopetegui, a frustration with Tim Stein, and again, this is from a board perspective, not from my perspective, that they could look to bring the band back together, and that band being Dan Ashworth as head director of football and Graham Potter as the head coach. They worked very well together at Brighton, and worked absolute wonders and established them as a top 10, top 8 side. particularly when it can not only sort of on the pitch, but off the pitch as well in terms of recruitment and stuff like that. Now, Ashworth has since been obviously linked up reasonably well with Eddie Howe. His time at Man United was short-lived, but not any fault of his, it seems. So both, like Potter, both are free. Both wouldn't require compensation. Just put it out there. I just thought it was an interesting theory. Whether I think it will happen, no. But I love a story. That's why I watch EastEnders. I don't watch EastEnders, but that's why I watch those serial programs. I love a story. I love a conspiracy, and I thought it was quite interesting. Now let's go and talk about some proper news, shall we? And let's start with Luizao. God bless him. God bless Luizao. According to a report from O Tempo, Luizao has been heavily linked with a move out of West Ham, which he has been since he joined, basically, to be honest. But this time to Brazilian side Atlético Mineiro. His agent is allegedly pushing him to leave West Ham this winter rather. And it's been claimed that Luizao could leave in January. I believe his girlfriend, is pregnant and is due to have a baby in the next coming months in Brazil. So he'd obviously want to go back to be with her as well in this sort of very significant time of their lives. I think we just need to for everyone's benefit, just draw a line and move on, dust ourselves off and go again. He joined about 2 years ago. I think it was in January 2023 from Sao Paulo. Hasn't played a single minute of Premier League football. Been confined to the under-21s. Wouldn't say he's been particularly great. He's had a couple of good games. Ironically, last 2 games I've seen, it'd probably be his 2 best I've seen in a West Ham shirt. But nowhere near the standard required to be at level at West Ham or level to get Premier League football. I think him leaving in January could free up maybe some money, maybe some wages. He might even be on a free transfer potentially just to get him off the books. But also it allows the likes of Josh Briggs to maybe move up into the central under 21 centre back position. Ezra could get more of a prominent role rather than sort of dropping in between the 18s and 21s, which then in turn would give someone like Edris more opportunity to come into the 18s and occasionally come into the 21s like he did in the last game of the against was it Sutton United in the National League Cup. So I think it would be best to let's just, as Elsa said, let's just let it go. Let's just let it go, bless him. The experiment failed, wasn't it? It was a Rob Newman experiment as part of the Brazilian expansion plans, which didn't work, which haven't worked as much as, haven't been as fruitful as we thought they would have been. And I think Luizao, for also his own mental health, going back, it's not easy. There was talks of maybe going to Portugal, but I think ideally he should be with his wife as their. I don't think they have the baby. I'm pretty sure it's in the next couple of months, personally, but they might have been having it. I don't even know. One player who I can't wait to come back is Freddie Bloody Potts. He is absolutely, they say Bowie's on fire, Potts is on fire, absolutely on fire at Pompey. And he's earned rave reviews following a standout performance against Swansea City for Pompey yesterday. They won 4-0. And obviously the son of academy coach Steve Potts, West Ham legend, was instrumental in that win, which lifted them outside of the Championship relegation zone. Obviously, he started pre-season with us, and then I think he played in the US tour as well, if I remember. Played really well alongside, I think, Lewis Orford in that tour before being loaned to Portsmouth. Last year he was at Wickham, and that move apparently was on the recommendation of Academy Director Mark Noble, and he's been a revelation. I mean, anyone who watches the loan review shows we do, he's getting 90 minutes, rave reviews, and it continues even more. Yesterday's victory was probably his finest moment yet. He played the number 8 role, and it was, as described in some newspapers, a midfield masterclass. And he provided an assist with a fantastic free kick as well. Short term, short range, long range passing, all fantastic. And they had to win that game. Sunderland are no mugs either. No mugs at all. Swansea, sorry, not Sunderland. Sorry, too many S's. So much so that Pompey fan on Twitter, Pedro Pompey, summed up his excitement, saying, "After a win like that, it's easy to go overboard, but I genuinely think that Freddie Potts is the greatest Portsmouth central midfielder since Lassana Diarra. Lassana Diarra played for Real Madrid, no less. I mean, the guy's different gravy. If there is ever a justification of why players need to go out on loan rather than giving 10 minutes, 5 minutes there, this is it. This is what I've been saying for so long. Yes, it's taken him 2 years. Yes, he was at Wickham and he came out of Wickham being player of the season. I think fans play the season. He's probably going to run away with this player of the season this year for Portsmouth. He's done it the right way. And what I'm really excited about is to see Freddie Potts here in a Claret Blue shirt next year. Not only because he's a good player, not only because he's an exceptional talent. He's young, he's hungry, he's a fan as well, and he keeps that lineage going, and it's that connection with the club. And I think for us, as I said yesterday when I was having my Debbie Downer day, we need a connection. We need someone to pin our hopes to, and I think Freddie could be that not our next Mark Noble, but our next player that West Ham fans can really relate to. A West Ham fan comes from a West Ham family, which is, headed up by a player who made over 500 appearances for the club. He's still involved in the club. And I'm really excited about what he can bring next season. I think it's fair. I think it's fine for me to give him the rest of this season to really, really hone his skills, come back in the summer and just hit the ground running. He's dynamic. He's got great parts, and the sky's the limit for him. It really is. There's a real vacuum for that type of player in England at the moment, and he's got it. And I'm really excited, really excited. That's what's going to excite me going into 2025 is seeing Freddie back at West Ham. And that's it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for your time. Go back and listen to we did the returning of the Rusty Rumour rating. That returned. The Jules Lopetegui press conference was always fun as ever, for sure, if you focus on that. And that's it. Take care. Stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith. Come on, you bloody, bloody irons. Much love.